Okay, welcome back to the channel, guys. I am Nick Cassiotti, your host, and today in our three-part series, we have amazing topics with amazing guests. Topic number one, New York is setting a record in population drop. More residents are moving out and into other states than ever before. This trend is so strong that it would leave the Empire State with House Representative seats fewer than Florida for the first time ever. Why are so many people leaving? And what does this mean for policymakers, Rez?
So look, population shifts happen all the time. What's going on in New York has been going on for a couple of years now. There's many reasons why people are leaving New York. I don't think it's mostly because of political reasons, though some may have to do with politics. I'm not a New Yorker, but I do have family and friends who are in New York. And from what I've heard, and from what I've seen, the main economic center is in New York City. When you go outside of New York, there are small towns and farmlands and etc. So people leaving New York, it could be for a multitude of reasons. It could be that they're seeking jobs elsewhere. It could be that because rent is high in cities like New York. It could be also because of the weather. Due to COVID and New York being close to shut down, it makes perfect sense for people who can afford to do so to go elsewhere, like places like Florida. And again, this is a continuing trend. And like I said, population shifts do happen all the time. If there is a reduction in seats, they would probably benefit the Democratic Party because of the fact that a Republican would most likely lose a congressional seat in New York. Keep in mind that Democrats do control redistricting in New York, and we'll see what happens out of this. But like I said, population shifts do happen all the time.
Sure, Kyle, you're a libertarian in Arizona. Is this a sign of changing times?
I don't think this is a sign of changing times. I think it's more of a straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, New York has been known for its big government policies for a long time. I think that's going to drain the efficiency of markets actually working when you start taking away money from people who can actually do the most good. So, naturally, I think this is kind of a tipping point and people have had enough. I mean, I'm shocked that people are even there before COVID. I mean, with rent control, with the taxation, I think you're asking people to leave, but that's my 2 cents.
Sure. So, Joe, I mean, we're really looking at this massive change from a center of politics, a center of economy, a center of really the heart of the United States that was year over year expanding in growth. Now we're seeing it reducing. I mean, is this really the change that America needs right now?
It absolutely is the change America needs. One of the things that COVID brought out is it's created the opportunity for a new class exodus out to the urban and suburban areas. It used to be you wanted to live in New York City because it was close to where everything was. It was close to the business. You could commute to work. You all went to the same office building. COVID taught us all that we can work from home. Whether you're in finance, whether you're in banking, whether you're in politics, social media right now, the four of us sitting on here talking, telling the world about what we think. We're doing this from home. We're doing it from outside of those big office buildings. So there's absolutely no reason to continue to migrate to the center of the world, New York City, the Empire State, the Empire City. We don't need to go there in order to achieve things anymore. We can do them from, Arizona, where Kyle is right now on the top of a mountain listening to the wind blow. And it's time it happened because the controls that go on now, it's going to be a problem because there's still a significant amount of classism associated with the exodus. The people that are leaving are the people that can afford to leave, the people that have jobs that they can take with them. Those aren't the clerks, those aren't the shopkeepers, those are people like you and I, social media people, news, people who can do the work from home, the people who can leave the office and go out and do great and wonderful things. But
Sure.
We're going to see a huge exodus. The problem is, as far as those representatives go right now, it's not going to change anything. The exodus is already done, or the census is already done. So the COVID exodus that you're seeing in New York right now isn't going to show its effect in its leadership in the US Congress for another 10 years.
Sure. So, Rez, if I had a Republican on here, a Republican would say that most of these people are leaving because of failed Democrat policies, high regulation, high taxation, things that people who can afford to escape are escaping from. Is that the reality?
No, I don't think that's a reality because the data doesn't show it. If anything, like these people who do leave places like New York and California bring their politics with them, and that's what that's what I believe what we're seeing today. It's one of the reasons why Arizona went blue this past election is because you've seen a lot of people from California move to Arizona. It's why Democrats have been talking about Texas as the next big opportunity for them because you're seeing a lot of people from blue states like like New York and California bring their politics to a state like Texas. So no, I don't believe like these people are moving because of politics, though some may play a part into it. I think it's moving as Joe pointed out. It's because like we're seeing job opportunities in many places around this country. You can see that you can work from home. It's the next step in our economic development. And as I mentioned earlier, population shifts do happen all the time. I don't think that people leaving New York is cause for political ramifications.
Sure. So, Kyle, from a libertarian standpoint, from a third party, does this open up a hole where people can vote libertarian, right? So, as Rez is pointing out, potentially people who vote blue are moving to these other states. Does this leave a gaping hole where third parties can come into the picture?
I never think so because I think the cause and effect analysis is it's muddied because what happens is a state like New York can make bad policy choices, and with the federal government being can siphon money from other states, provide aid, and it can seem like, oh, it's not that bad. Well, it's not that bad because everybody else is covering up for your mistakes. And until we have an isolation of states, so if the state has really bad policies, we can more clearly see it if they would not siphon any other money out from everybody else. But until that gets fixed, it gets muddy.
Sure. So I'm more talking like on a local level, right? So boroughs, districts, right? We're looking at New York City. To Rez's point, if people are leaving, if blue voters are leaving, going to California or Texas or Arizona, wherever they're going to, would that open an opportunity even on small levels, right? So we saw AOC get into power with not many votes to begin with at all. So does this open an opportunity for potentially that third party with a good message to come in and really exert their power?
I would hope, but I'm very skeptical because I think people kind of stay in their echo chambers and the reason their way around that it's not the political system, it's something else. So I think most people will shift blame to not politics, it's something else. They'll blame it entirely on COVID or they'll blame it entirely on, some other source.
So Joe, if we're looking at potentially a migrant of blue voters moving out, for a third party on your end of things, you look at potentially the same or similar numbers of third parties still staying in the city, potentially, to what Rez is saying. We don't have the data. We don't know exactly. But if that's the case, wouldn't that open opportunities for people to start thinking differently?
It absolutely will. The big question is where are they moving to and under what conditions? As I stated already, it's a class exodus rather than a political exodus. These are people who can afford to leave, get out. So you're still looking at the same demographics that are the bulk in the boroughs. You still have the same people that are going to vote Democrat because the Democrat keeps appealing to them. So what you're looking at is, can you change the opinions of those people who move from the city into other locations, in remote locations? That's where the change can happen.
So Rez, the pushback to your point, which we're seeing, and thank you for clarifying, the pushback to your point then, if these folks move to, let's say an example as Texas, right? What we're understanding or hearing is they're leaving high tax, high regulation states, which these blue voters voted in to begin with. Would that change then Arizona or change Texas in this example to be, again, high regulation? I mean, does that benefit people?
So again, like I said, the people leave for multiple of reasons, and while politics may play a part, like we don't know if politics is the sole reason why these people left. Your average American voter tend to be socially liberal and fiscally, sometimes fiscally conservative, depending on who you ask. And yes, like these people who can afford to come to a state like Texas, they can afford to do so, and sometimes they'll bring their politics with them. So the thing is, I can't give an honest answer to this because like I said, the data just doesn't show that politics is the sole reason why people move. People move for a multitude of reasons. And if there's a political shift in states like Texas and Arizona, then I'm just gonna have to wait for the data to come out to see if it was because of taxes or high regulation that played a role in it.
Sure. To your prior point, Kyle, does this really show an economic changing of the people themselves, right? So to Joe's point earlier, I mean, we're looking at people leaving New York City, coming to warmer weather, better climate states such as Florida, such as Arizona. We're seeing a lot of folks from the north come this way to begin with. I mean, is this just the society in which we're moving into now?
There's no doubt that's going to be some factor. The question is as Rez was saying, what does the data say? And to my rebuttal is the data is just not, it's not clear. It's muddied. So we really don't know. The first people, obviously, even if it's a political problem, the first people that can leave are the people who can afford to leave, of course. And that still might say that the politics is playing an issue into their decision, not just because they want sunny weather. I mean, a lot of people love New York, and they otherwise would never leave. So it's to me, the data is not clear, and like I said, it's very hard to actually get at what's the actual cause.
So what's the future of New York, Joe?
New York is going to be green. It's where Howie Hawkins originally ran. That said, you got great individuals up there in New York. Larry Sharpe may be running for governor again. So third party may stand a chance of stepping up and taking over as these elitists, decide to take leave of New York because they realize that the policies are no longer benefiting them in the way that they used to, 20, 30 years ago, especially now that they can afford to leave. They no longer have to commute, love working from home.
Rez, 10 seconds. What's your last word?
Look, like I'm gonna say what I said at the beginning. Population transfers happen all the time. I don't think people leaving New York is an indictment against democratic policies in New York.
Excellent. We appreciate you, our guests, for joining us. We appreciate you, the viewer, for watching. If you've got questions or if you want us to discuss something, please put it in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up, share us on social media, and we'll see you in part 2 coming up next.